It's time to let go now. Let your day fall away like petals in the wind. Let your shoulders relax, your breath slow, and your mind gently soften, like warm wax melting in the quiet candlelight of your inner stillness. You're safe here. You're warm. You're ready to drift. Taking a deep, easy breath and let it go. Now again, in and out. Feel the ground beneath you, steady and kind. Feel the hush of dusk settling around you like a soft blanket. You are welcome here. You are wanted here. And now, our story today begins. Mist over the Herbalist garden. A tale told in stillness, in peace, and in lavender-scented light. The mist had come gently in the hours before dawn, soft as breath on a mirror, rising from the deep woods beyond the wall, curling over cobblestones, drifting between dew-laden hedgerows. In the walled garden of the old herbalist, not even the bees stirred yet. Only the leaves whispered, and the earth exhaled the memory of rain. It was a place forgotten by time, not far from the edge of the forest, and yet close to the heart of the village, but hidden enough that even the wind had to pause before passing through its crooked gate. There, just beyond the moss-covered stone path, stood a small cottage with a thatched roof and chimney that still held the scent of last night's fire. And just beside it, the garden itself, neat and wild all at once. Lavender grew in tidy rows. Sage sprawled in soft, silvery heaps. Chamomile nodded its sleepy little heads toward the rising sun, not yet fully awake. But the mist had already arrived. They knew this place. They remembered the prayers whispered into nettles, the secrets tucked beneath calendula blossoms, and the gentle hands that gathered time not with shears but with gratitude. And in this mist, stepping quietly as if not to disturb a single leaf, came the herbalist. Her name was Alna. No one remembered her exact agenot, even she. But her eyes were full of years, and her hands were full of healing. She had lived in the cottage since she was a girl, taught by her grandmother, who had once been taught by a wise woman who wore fox furs and sang to the moon. Alna did not sing to the moon, but she did speak to her plants. And in the hush of morning mist, they answered her, not in words, but in warmth, in whispers, in the way mint would grow more lush near her door, or how poppies bowed when she passed. Today, like all days, she moved slowly, barefoot on cool stone, wrapped in her soft woolen shawl that smelled faintly of dried rosemary and hearth smoke. She knelt beside the borage, her fingers brushing its star-blue blossoms. "Good morning, little ones," she murmured, her voice like the wind slipping through reeds. "I dreamed of fevers last night, of restless dreams and tossing heads. We'll need you today, won't we?" The borage did not speak, but its leaves shivered, catching droplets of mist like pearls on a green sea. Alna smiled, gently snipping a few leaves with her crescent-shaped blade. She always whispered thank you. The garden had over 200 herbs. Each one had a story. Each one had a purpose. And Alna remembered every single one. There was valerian, hidden in a shaded corner, whose roots she steeped into tea for deep, dreamless sleep. There was mugwort, tall and silvery, brushed by the wings of moths, used to ease the journeys of troubled minds. There were roses, whose petals could soothe a broken heart just as surely as they softened angry skin. And lemon balm for the anxious, elderflower for fever, meadowsweet for pain. Every part of the garden worked in harmony, much like the body it healed. And Alna was the gentle conductor of this living symphony. In the far corner of the garden stood the wise elder tree, its branches twisting like the lines on Alna's hands. She had never picked its flowers or berries without asking. It was the gatekeeper, the protector. Many believed the elder tree to be sacred. Some said a spirit lived within it, old as the earth. Alna didn't argue. She only nodded and always left a gift beneath its roots, sometimes honey, sometimes a braid of dried sweetgrass. This morning, she laid a fresh piece of bread with lavender butter at its base. "For the dreams you kept safe," she whispered, brushing her fingers along the bark, "and the ones I helped ease." Beyond the garden, in the village, people were just beginning to stir. Chickens fluffed feathers, bakeries lit their ovens, and the distant sound of hooves echoed on the stone bridge near the brook. But in the garden, time did not move the same way. It flowed like water through roots, slow, purposeful, calm. A breeze passed through, then cool and scented with mint and morning dew. It lifted the mist in curls, like smoke from an incense bowl, and carried it through the open window of the cottage, where inside, a small fire still smoldered in the hearth. Anna stepped inside now, her basket full of herbs freshly gathered. Let the mist carry you further now, deeper into the quiet, into the rhythm of slow steps, the rustle of herbs brushed by hand, and the scent of ancient comfort drifting through the early light. Let your thoughts soften like the petals of a rose warmed by sun. Let your body rest like a stone wrapped in moss beside a trickling brook. Let your breath become the breeze, because here, in this garden of memory and moss, your only task is to listen and drift. The fire in Anna's hearth gave a soft sigh. An orange flicker danced across the stone floor. She had added just a pinch of dried elderflower to the mix now, its tiny white blossoms, sweet and strong. She remembered how her grandmother used to steep it in honeyed water for fevers. "A spoonful before bed," she would whisper, "and the night spirits will leave you in peace." It was not superstition. It was knowing. It was trust in the earth, in time, in the whispers passed down through hands and heartbeats. Anna placed her blend into a small linen pouch. She tied it with green thread, always green for dreams. And she set it by the door where the village girl would come to fetch it later. The girl who wept in sleep, the one who missed her mother's lullabies. Outside, the mist had lifted just a little, enough for the bees to begin their quiet hum, low and slow, like monks chanting in a distant abbey. Anna stepped back into the garden, and the air kissed her cheeks cool. She moved past the hyssop, past the creeping thyme, to where the wild yarrow grew near the gate. Its feathery leaves, soft and sharp all at once, brushed her fingertips. Yarrow was the wound healer, the protector. In old times, warriors tucked it into boots and belts before battle. But Anna's battles were of the quiet kind. Fevers, fits, heartbreaks, sorrows without names. She plucked just enough to make an oil, not too much, never too much. The garden gave, but only to those who took with reverence. She paused by the stone bench beneath the hawthorn tree. Its branches were still heavy with dew, its tiny white blossoms glowing in the morning hush. This was the place where people sat when they came not for medicine, but for meaning. When grief sat heavier than pain, and silence was needed more than words. The hawthorn was for the heart, a tonic not only for the body, but for the parts of us that ache in quiet corners. Anna would steep its blossoms in rainwater and rose, and offer it in tiny clay cups, not to be swallowed quickly, but to be sipped slowly, like a prayer. She remembered the old blacksmith who came when his wife passed. His hands were too big for teacups, but he drank it anyway, and stayed until the mist turned golden, and left a little lighter. The garden, you see, was more than just plants. It was a sanctuary, a keeper of rituals and dreams. Each stone in the path held footsteps. Each herb knew a name. Each breeze carried whispers of those who had come before. And now you walk here too. Gently, silently. Your steps leave no mark, but the garden knows you've come. Can you feel the chamomile beneath your feet? Soft as feathers. Can you smell the mint crushed beneath the curve of your breath? Fresh and sweet, it welcomes you because it remembers. By midday, the mist had thinned into golden threads, and the sun filtered through the leaves and patches, tiny circles of warmth, like little blessings fallen from the sky. Alna moved to the back of the garden now, where the tall plants grew. Angelica, with stalks thick and hollow, used in ancient syrups for cough and chill. Horehound, bitter and bold, for chest and breath. Skullcap, whose blue flowers look like tiny monks' hoods, perfect for calming minds that race like foxes in the dark. She touched them each with care, not always harvesting sometimes, just checking, asking, listening. The plants, after all, could tell her what they needed. A little more shade, a little less water, or just time. And time here never rushed. It circled like a hawk in the sky, watching, waiting, then resting its wings on the branches of dusk. Inside the cottage, the smell of dried mugwort and bay drifted into the rafters. Alna added rose petals to her simmering pot now, a gentle blend for a mother whose child had not yet arrived in this world. She stirred it slowly, wooden spoon against cast iron, the motion like breathing, each stir a prayer, each fragrance a memory, each moment a lullaby in motion. Now, dear listener, can you feel your breath becoming slower still? Can you sense the warm hush of the hearth behind your eyelids? Can you rest in the scent of roses and steam, as if you too are a flower steeping in dream water? You are welcome here. No need to be anything. Just let your breath move like the garden breeze. Soft, slow, sacred. The sun tilted westward now, and shadows stretched longer across the garden stones. The bees grew slower. The leaves stilled. Even the mist began to return, not heavy, not thick, just enough to soften the edge. Now that the dusk has begun to unfold, let us wander deeper still, into the evening hush of the garden. Let the world outside dissolve. Let your thoughts melt like candle wax. Slow, quiet, warm. There is nothing more to do. No past to carry. No future to chase. Just the earth beneath you, the sky above, and this story unfolding gently in your breath. The sun had begun its descent behind the trees. Light flickered like golden embroidery along the tops of the hedges. It reached into corners of the garden, lighting petals from beneath, casting long silhouettes across stone paths. Birdsong softened, as if even the robins and wrens were preparing for sleep. Inside her cottage, Alna moved with ritual. She had boiled fresh water in her old copper kettle and steeped it with lemon balm, fennel, and just a whisper of sweet woodruff. She poured it into a simple ceramic mug, the glaze cracked slightly from years of use, and cupped it in both hands. She did not sip right away. She sat by the window where steam could curl upward and meet the drifting dusk. And there, in the quiet, she closed her eyes. There were many kinds of healing. Some came through roots and leaves, some through touch or breath or time, but some came through stillness. The kind of stillness that held space for memories to settle, for sorrow to soften, for souls to mend. This was the hour for that stillness, the hour between light and dark, when the world held its breath and the veil between what is and what was felt soft and thin. She thought of her grandmother again, the woman with hair like a snowy river and eyes that saw everything. She had once told Alna, the plants speak most clearly when the wind is quiet and the sun is gentle. And this was one of those moments, the kind of moment you could carry in your pocket or place under your pillow to dream upon later. The herbalist sipped her tea now. The warmth filled her chest like a slow-moving light. The lemon balm soothed her breath. The fennel sweetened her tongue. And the woodruff reminded her of springtime, of lying in grass with the sky for a blanket. Outside, the mist had returned in ribbons. Not heavy, not cold, just enough to blur the line between garden and dream. And in the gathering twilight, the herbs took on a different shape. No longer just leaves and stems, they became silhouettes, Spirits? Sentinels of ancient knowledge. There was a rustling near the rose arch. Not alarming, just a soft, shift-like footsteps in memory. Anna rose and stepped outside again, her shawl wrapped close, her breath fogging slightly in the cooling air. A figure stood by the rosemary bushes. Small, thin, wrapped in a woolen cloak. "Evening, child," Anna called gently, her voice like warm water over stones. The girl turned, not frightened, just shy. It was the baker's youngest, a quiet soul who rarely spoke. Anna smiled and walked slowly toward her. The girl held out a small bundle wrapped in linen. "My mother sent this, for your kindness," she said, barely above a whisper. Anna accepted the gift still warm. A small loaf of honey oat bread. She touched the girl's hand. "And how was your sleep?" Anna asked. The girl looked down. "Better," she said. "Still, sometimes I wake, but the dreams aren't so loud now." Anna nodded. She reached into her pocket and drew out a small vial, rose oil with a drop of mugwort. "Rub this on your temples," she whispered, "before bed, and if the dreams come again, ask them what they want. There are only lost things trying to be seen." The girl's eyes widened just a little. She nodded, took the vial with both hands, and tucked it away. Then, with a small curtsy, she disappeared back into the mist, quiet as she came. The garden pulsed softly now, a rhythm in the air, like a heartbeat, like breath. Night had not fully arrived, but it was close. The air smelled of damp soil, mint, and the faintest trace of smoke. Anna walked slowly to the fountain. It was older than the cottage. A low basin of carved stone, its water clear and ever flowing from a spout shaped like a lion's mouth. By tradition, she floated petals in the basin at dusk, blessings for the coming dreams of all who sought peace. Tonight, she dropped in a rose petal, a calendula bloom, and one pale violet. Each floated gently, spinning slowly, before coming to rest. And now, the wind had stilled. The trees barely moved. Even the stars held their breath, not yet revealed, but watching. Inside, she lit one candle, lavender wax in a small clay bowl. Its flame flickered softly, casting long golden shadows across the shelves, lined with jars and bundles and books. There were many kinds of knowing in this room. Some written, some bottled, but most of it lived. Anna sat in her old rocking chair. It creaked only once, then quieted, and she began to hum, a tune without name, a melody that smelled of thyme and warm wool, a lullaby made not of notes, but of presence. "Now, dear dreamer, can you feel your eyelids growing heavier?" The candle's flame swayed ever so slightly, as if it too were listening, to the hush, to the hum, to the story that the walls of the cottage had held for generations. Anna's voice was soft now, not quite a whisper, but close. She was not speaking to anyone in particular. Or perhaps she was speaking to the house, to the plants hanging above her head, or to the night itself. "There is a kind of healing," she murmured, "that asks nothing of you. No answers, no explanations, only presence, only stillness." Her fingers moved slowly over a small bundle of dried lavender. She plucked a few stems and tied them with twine, setting them aside for a village mother expecting her third child. Lavender to calm the heart, and to remind her that she already knows how to hold life. Outside, the garden was breathing. You could almost hear it, that low, slow rhythm of roots and leaves sighing into night. The mist had settled again, thicker now, silver in the places where moonlight slipped through. Somewhere in the distance, an owl called once, then silence. Not an empty silence, but one full of waiting. In the far corner of the garden, a candle flickered in a lantern. Anna had placed it there earlier, a beacon not for people, but for the dreams that wandered. Some believed dreams were wayward spirits, looking for a soft place to land, so she always left a light, and a sprig of rue, and a whisper. She stood now, slowly, letting her joints move with the ease of someone who had never rushed a single motion. Her bare feet stepped onto the cool wooden floor. Each board welcomed her, remembering the thousands of steps they had carried before. She moved to the shelf where the dream bundles were kept, little sachets wrapped in cloth and sealed with wax or twine. Each had its own purpose, some to protect sleep, some to encourage visions, some to chase away night terrors that howled like wolves in the dark. She selected one, a bundle of mugwort, lavender, and rose petals, dusted lightly with ash from the Yule fire still kept in a small clay jar. This bundle was for a young boy who had seen too much during last year's floods. He had not spoken in months, but his eyes held thunder. She placed it in her gathering basket, along with a vial of violet tincture and a folded note written in her neat, curling hand. Then, Anna opened the cottage door once more, and oh, the night had come fully now. The mist had thickened like cream in tea. The stars above shimmered only faintly, hidden behind the silver breath of the earth. But the garden glowed. It was not a glow you could see, exactly. Not like firelight, not like the moon. It was a kind of felt light, a warmth that shimmered through your chest, even if your skin was cold. It came from the plants, from the paths, from the place itself, as if the garden had drawn breath all day and now exhaled peace. For you, for the trees, for the sky. She moved along the stepping stones now, basket in hand, shawl pulled tight. Each step was a note in the lullaby of the night. She visited the rosemary once more, touched the yarrow, passed the borage with its star-shaped blossoms, folded gently into themselves. At the fountain, the petals still floated, unmoved, unbothered by the breeze. She dipped her fingers into the water. It was cool, clear, soft, like silk. She brought a few drops to her forehead, a blessing, a prayer. And when she stood again, a single moth circled the lantern's glow before vanishing into the velvet dark. She returned to the house and placed the basket by the door for the village messenger to collect in the morning. Then she moved toward the hearth once more. The fire was low now, just soft embers glowing beneath a drift of ash. But their warmth reached outward. Not far, just enough to warm the old rocking chair, the worn rug beneath it, and the wooden cradle in the corner. Yes, the cradle, it was empty, now long unused. But Alna kept it near, not for sorrow, but for memory. It had once rocked babies brought to her in sickness, infants born under troubled moons, children left by mothers who could not stay. They were all grown now, scattered, safe. But the cradle remained, its wood worn smooth by time and touch. And sometimes, in the hush of night, Anna swore she could still hear the gentle creak of its rhythm, as if the wind remembered. She sat again. The chair groaned once, then stilled. Anna pulled a small book into her lap, bound in faded green leather. Its pages held pressed flowers, tiny recipes, and scribbled lines of poetry. She turned a page and read softly. The earth speaks in roots and rest, in mint on the tongue, and soil beneath the nail. In silence and in sleep, she closed the book gently and exhaled. Now, dear listener, feel how her breath becomes your breath, how her stillness echoes in your bones. You are no longer beside her. You are her. Or perhaps you are the garden. You are the mist, the candle, the breath, and there is nothing more to do. No end. The stars had finally pushed through the mist, one by one, tiny silver pinpricks in the dark velvet sky. Some flickered, some held steady, and some, perhaps, were not stars at all, but dreams that had floated too high and settled among the constellations. Alna noticed them, as she always did, not with her eyes alone, but with that part of her heart that still believed in signs. She pulled a thick shawl around her shoulders and stepped out onto the porch. The old wooden boards creaked underfoot, softly, welcoming. She stood at the edge of the garden, where mist met moonlight, and lifted her eyes to the sky. There it was again, the hush, the knowing, the gentle vastness of night, wrapping the world in velvet and silence. Behind her, the fire dimmed into a glow. The candlelight blinked softly in its clay bowl. Everything was as it should be. She carried a small bundle in her hand, a charm made of fennel seed, dried marigold, and the bark of elder. It was for protection, for safe dreaming, a gift she would bury near the garden gate, where the foxes sometimes came to drink dew from the leaves. "Keep them safe," she whispered, pressing the bundle into the soil. "Keep the dreamers close to the ground, but free." The soil was warm still, as if the sun had left behind a final kiss. And somewhere, in the trees beyond the wall, a nightjar began its lilting call. The nightjar song was slow, almost hypnotic, a soft, broken rhythm that felt like footsteps walking backward through memory. Alna listened, eyes closed. It was the sound of old stories, of lullabies that had no words, of the in-between places. She had always known that certain birds, like certain herbs, carried messages. Nightjars, in particular, were said to guard the threshold between sleep and waking. They watched the dreamers. They guided them back, gently, when morning came. And so, as the birds sang, Alna stood still, letting its rhythm become part of her breath. A breeze moved across the garden, soft, low, like the exhale of something ancient. The lavender swayed, the mint leaves shivered, and the moon dipped slightly lower toward the hills. This breeze was a visitor, a reminder. It wound through the rosemary, brushed the sage, and curled around Alna's ankles like a cat returning home. She turned, moving slowly back toward the cottage, pausing at the herb archway, where thyme and honeysuckle had grown into each other, in a quiet kind of love. She ran her hand across the petals, their scent released like a memory you didn't know you had. Inside, the house welcomed her with warmth. Not just the fire, but the walls, the shelves, the worn armchair and faded rug. Everything carried the hum of years lived slowly, intentionally, with presence. Alna took one last bundle from her shelf. It was for her. She rarely made them for herself. But tonight, something told her it was time. She sat at her table and opened a fresh linen cloth. She laid out vervain for gentle dreams and release from heaviness, chamomile to cradle the heart, sweet marjoram to ease the soul. A single rose petal from the first bloom of the season dried and saved in secret. She bound them slowly, each fold a moment of gratitude, each knot a promise to rest. She placed the bundle beneath her pillow. Then, she lit a final piece of dried mugwort in the shell on her windowsill. It burned slowly, sweet and earthy, its smoke curling like a soft hand. Drawing the curtains of night, she whispered an old phrase, a lullaby her grandmother once sang. "Come sleep, come slow, come softly down, wrap round these bones your silver gown, and take the day from every limb until the stars begin to dim." She climbed into her bed, pulling the woolen blanket over her shoulders. The mattress, stuffed with straw and lavender, gave a soft sigh beneath her. Outside, the mist curled around the windows, pressing closed like a story that wanted to be heard. Now, dear dreamer, you lie in this bed too. You feel the straw shift beneath you. You smell the faint drift of mugwort and rose. You hear the creak of the cottage settling, the embers in the hearth. the faint wind whispering over the garden wall. Let it take you now. Let your breath match the rhythm of this hush. Let your body melt, sinking gently into the garden's embrace. You are a flower in this soil. You are a leaf on this wind. You are the mist and the dream. Sleep is not far now. It is here, in the space between this word and the next. Sleep has settled over the garden like velvet. Not just a quiet, but a complete softening, the way a pond stills beneath the moon, or how petals close at the final sigh of dusk. And within the cottage, the breath of the herbalist slowed, just like yours. Easy, unhurried, held in the hush of something ancient and kind. The night had deepened. Even the stars now shimmered more faintly, as if drawing their light inward into a place where dreams are made. Alna's dreams were not chaotic flashes of thought. No, hers came gently, like fog rolling in over the fields. They were stories whispered by the plants, old memories tucked into the creases of leaves and roots. Tonight she dreamt of her grandmother again. They walked side by side through the garden, but it was different, brighter, wilder, humming. The elder tree stood taller than before, its blossoms glowing like lanterns. In the dream, her grandmother did not speak. She simply placed a hand on Alna's shoulder and pressed something into her palm. When Alna opened her hand, there lay a tiny seed, black, glossy, and warm. A seed is a promise, her grandmother had once said, not of what is, but of what could be. Alna held the seed to her heart. Outside, the garden dreamt too. It did not sleep, not the way humans do. Its rest was rhythmic, sap flowing slower, roots humming quietly, petals trembling only when kissed by wind. And if you walk through the garden now, as a dreamer, you'd see it not with your eyes, but with something deeper. You'd notice that the lavender gave off a soft glow, a purplish mist rising above its stems. You'd see the sage spiraling in silver trails, as if it remembered every question ever asked beneath its leaves. And the fountain, its water would sing, a song without language, but with deep, resounding meaning. The kind that wraps around your heart like ivy and never lets go. Back inside the cottage, Alna stirred slightly, not waking, but shifting into deeper layers of rest. One arm curled beneath her head, the other over the herbal bundle beneath her pillow. And from her lips came a small sound. Not quite a word, not quite a breath, just peace. Because the body remembers kindness. It remembers when it has been held, tended, soothed, and it rests differently when it knows it is safe. The candle had burned to a stub now, its golden pool of wax stilled at the bowl's center. But even in darkness, the warmth of the garden could be felt. You could feel it in the wood of the windowsill, still sun-warmed beneath your fingertips. You could smell it in the faint curl of mugwort smoke lingering just above the doorframe. And you could hear it in the distant sigh of rosemary leaves brushing each other like old friends, telling secrets before sleep. At the far edge of the garden, just beyond the gate, a fox paused. Not just any fox, but the same silver-furred one that had come for years. Alna had never tamed it. She never tried. That was not their way. They had simply come to understand one another. The fox blinked slowly in the moonlight. Its breath was a soft puff in the cold air. It stepped through the mist like a shadow, weaving silently between time and marjoram. At the base of the elder tree it sat, its eyes closed, and for a long while, the fox just breathed. This too was part of the garden's rhythm. Not just herbs and hands and heat, but mystery, magic, moments that couldn't be bottled or written into books. The fox knew it. The wind knew it. Even the dew on each petal knew. And in this stillness, you know it too. Let yourself rest in this knowing. Let your limbs grow heavy, like wet leaves softened under rain. Let your mind drift, like mist unraveling at sunrise. Let your breath flow like water over mossy stones. You are here. You are part of the hush. You belong to the garden now, if only for a night. In her sleep, Alna smiled. The dream was changing. The garden was blooming again, but not with petals, with faces, familiar and new. People she had helped, people she would never meet, and people who had only ever visited in spirit. Each face bloomed like a flower, eyes closed, breathing slowly, at peace. The seed her grandmother gave her, it pulsed gently in her hand. Its warmth spread outward, filling her dream, filling the garden, filling this story. Now, dear one, you are in that dream too. You are not outside the garden. You are within it, perhaps as a breeze, perhaps as a flower, perhaps as the quiet candlelight glowing from within the cottage window. Wherever you are welcome. You are whole. You are loved. Sleep now as the herbalist sleeps, softly, slowly, in rhythm with leaf and wind and fire. Let your breath slip into the soil. Let your thoughts be carried on the wind. Let your dreams bloom quietly, gently, among the herbs. And know you will wake again. But part of this garden will always stay with you. Like rosemary on your fingertips. Like thyme on your tongue. Like mist in your memory. Time passes differently in the garden of dreams. It doesn't move in hours or minutes, but in the opening of a flower, the cooling of tea, the moment when a breeze forgets where it was going and pauses just to listen. And now night holds the world gently. Even the stars seem quieter, drawn closer to the earth, as if to rest their silvery heads on the shoulders of trees. Within the cottage, the air is warm, still holding the scent of steep herbs, old wood, and the faintest drift of candle smoke. Alna sleeps deeply now, but her breathing, like yours, remains soft and steady, a quiet tide, rising and falling, in perfect rhythm with the hush outside. The fire has died down to glowing embers. No crackle, no flame, just warmth. A kind of warmth that hums, that holds. In the cradle by the hearth, nothing stirs. And yet, if you stood very still, you might sense something there. Not a child, not a memory, but a presence, soft, sacred, like a blessing that hasn't yet taken form. Beyond the window, the garden glistens with dew. Tiny pearls hang from every leaf and petal, catching moonlight and mist alike. If you were to walk barefoot down its stone path now, you'd feel the chill of stone softened by moss. And under each step, the herbs would release their sighs, their sleepy breath of scent. From the chamomile, you'd gather gentleness. From the lemon balm, peace. From the sage, wisdom deeper than language. And overhead, the vines would stretch, as if reaching out just to brush your shoulders with ancient greetings. There's a part of the garden few have seen, a hidden circle tucked behind the old willow, where the shadows fold in on themselves. Alna calls it the still place. No herbs grow there, no flowers bloom, only soft moss, a ring of standing stones, and silence, the kind that listens. In waking hours, she rarely visits, but in dreams, she always finds her way there. Tonight, she walks barefoot into that sacred space. The moon hangs high, and every stone glows faintly, not from light, but from memory. Each one has been placed by a hand no longer living, and yet they still remember. Each one holds a name, a story, a whispered prayer. She walks the circle once, clockwise, her fingers brushing each stone, and then she kneels in the center, palms on the moss, and breathes. In this moment, nothing exists but breath, stillness, and the faint sound of a distant owl, like the ticking of a cosmic clock, marking not time, but presence. She lets her thoughts slip away, like petals falling into water, not rushed, not forced, just letting go. The garden breathes with her, and so do you. Let your breath be part of this circle now. Let your body rest within the moss. Let your thoughts find no edge, only the smooth roundness of peace. You are in the still place. Even if you've never seen it, your bones remember it. Your soul knows this ground. It is the place where dreams root, where stories pause, where healing begins without effort or instruction. It asks for nothing, but it gives everything. Slowly, Alna rises, not hurried, not heavy, but whole. She leaves no footprint in the moss, just the echo of her breath, still circling in the air. Back through the lavender she walks, past the hawthorn, past the rosemary, now glinting with dew. The fox waits for her near the gate. It does not speak. It does not move. It only watches, and in its gaze is everything unspoken. Trust, mystery, peace. She nods once, and the fox disappears into the hush. Back in the cottage, her body rests, unmoving, at peace. But something within her, the part that listens to wind and watches stars, remains quietly awake, cradled between dream and memory. It hums in rhythm with your breath now, with the hush in your chest, with the warmth beneath your ribcage, because this is the gift of the garden. You leave with more than you came, even in sleep. So let yourself sink again, deeper, like roots curling into rich soil, like mist sinking into meadow, like a sigh that's been waiting all day to release. There is no end to this peace, only softness, only return. You may dream now if you wish, or you may simply float, weightless, timeless, soundless, held by the hush, by the garden, by the night. And if you should wake, know this: the scent of lavender will remain on your skin. The hush will echo in your breath. And somewhere, just beyond thought, the herbalist garden will still be blooming, waiting for your return.